Welcome to Adapt Now, the ABB podcast series on adaptive execution. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Overly with another edition of Adapt Now, our ABB podcast series on adaptive execution. And today we're going to go into a general overview of ABB Adaptive Execution. And we have Sri here with us. Sri, hello.
Hi Dan.
Can we get started, Sri, with an introduction of yourself and tell everyone about your background?
Yes. Hi, Dan. So nice talking to all of you today through this podcast. I'm Sri Srinivasan. I'm here with ABB Houston, part of IA Energy Division. I'm currently heading the Global Project Execution Program. Now we call it Adaptive Execution for IA Energy. I've been in this domain for industrial automation for the last 25 years, managing and leading capital automation projects across oil and gas, chemical refineries, other process industries. I have experience working on major projects across Asia, Middle East, Europe, North America, where I managed and delivered large automation systems right from seed to startup and commissioning phases of a project. And the best part of my career, I would say, Dan, is to go over this constant learning and adapting to new technologies, methodologies that meets the new challenging requirements of major projects. And this interest in me has been always having me to look for opportunities to transform and adapt new ways of executing and managing projects. I would say I'm part of a generation which is Industrial Revolution 3.0, and as we know, we are moving to Industrial Revolution 4.0. So probably I'm part of a generation which is part of this transformation from 3.0 to 4.0, where exponential change in technology has led towards us being able to deliver projects much more efficiently and effective in whatever we do and we deliver. So here I am today, and I'm very excited to be part of this ABB's Adaptive Execution Program.
Excellent. So to get started, why don't we begin with explaining to everyone ABB Adaptive Execution in a nutshell and what it means?
So, ABB Adaptive Execution, it's an end-to-end global project execution model or a framework that kind of integrates our expert team of engineers, project managers, our new technologies and tools, our agile processes, our shared lessons learned, and proven methodologies into a single, streamlined project execution experience for all the stakeholders involved in a major capital project, right? And with the current situation, with the oil prices falling, with the investments lowering, with the kind of COVID lockdown, companies are looking for that value injection that will help to find better efficiencies and reduce risk and cost in major projects. And adaptive execution supports that need. So it's a global solution which ABB would like to launch and help capital projects market thrive in this new normal, right? So this adaptive execution will change the way in which our customers, EPCs, and vendors will interact. We can create business value for our customers by creating an environment where everyone can do his or her part with confidence. Empowering delivery teams to achieve more in less time. And I think this is kind of the key to overall project success. So adaptive execution is a 360-degree approach that will enable greater visibility across all layers and functions of a project.
Well, thank you for that comprehensive introduction, Sri. And it was very informative for me, and it makes me think about even the word adaptive. And the use of the word adaptive is today's, with the global pandemic going on, it's a word you hear a lot. What is the reason you chose that word? Is it related to what's going on in the world today?
This is a very good question, we as a team, I've been thinking about it and working on coming out with a kind of a proper branding and a name. But to some extent, yeah, you're right. It's kind of fits to the current situation, what we are going through. But the term adaptive is more from the new way of thinking, meaning we are ready for a change. And I would say, as we live in this VUCA world, where you have volatility, uncertainty, and the predictability becomes a challenge, it's important for businesses to know to adapt to changing new normal all the time. It also means to me like it's needing a just-in-time concept, or built to adapt rather than built to last, right? So adaptive is more where we want to build to adapt rather than you invest and build something to last. But again, if the circumstances and situations and the market change, then the build to last have no purpose because it's not able to adapt, right?
Yeah.
So with this, I would say with the industrial revolution 4.0 happening, along with the digital transformation acceleration, customers are looking for much more streamlined, integrated, modular approach, which will help them to achieve their desired business improvement goals and sustainable development goals, right? So I would say adaptive in a nutshell is about assembling the right elements of that peak experience for every person, every stakeholder in a project, without the need for a crisis, right? So that's adaptive, that's adaptive execution.
Okay, very good, Sri. You mentioned methodology, so let's break that down a little more for the audience. Can you break down methodology into some of its components?
Yep. So adaptive management, it includes the basic principles of agile project management. So that's one form of our derivative when we started looking at adaptive execution. In today's execution model, it's imminent that we build agile principles, and such a iterative process and creating the required business environment is part of the adaptive methodology. Now, in addition, adaptive management involves active use of quantitative methods to measure project performance and apply the learnings to improve the decisions, right? So adaptive execution is built around 4 main pillars of, I would say, focus areas of transformation, which is technology and tools, methodology, which is our work process and procedures, infrastructure, which is our platforms and systems, which we use during execution. And finally, the most important is about the capability aspect, which is the people, including the mindsets, behavior, competency, and skill sets. So each of these focus areas have specific enablers that we are looking into to further enhance, simplify, automate, and standardize, which will help us to achieve the desired efficiency and the ease with which we'll be able to manage change and still be able to deliver on time and budget. So that's kind of, puts in a nutshell of the structure of adaptive. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. That makes perfect sense to me, and makes me think about the stakeholders involved in adaptive execution. Obviously, our end users, our customers, are key stakeholders. What about EPCs? What role do they play? Are they also part of it?
Sure. So, as we said, the adaptive execution approach delivers the desired CapEx savings and benefits, along with OpEx benefits, which in fact is an extension of the solutions offered and built during the project phase, right? So hence, this is an ABB way of delivering major CapEx projects that would benefit both the EPCs and our end users, giving them both their desired efficiencies and benefits they are looking for. So each of the adaptive enablers will deliver corresponding project value improvements. Now, if you take our standard work processes and procedures, that will help us to have and ensure that we have a global, consistent, efficient methodology which could be applied with the lessons learned on every project. When we take the integrated products and solutions across our process automation, electrical and telecom, we make sure that we build the effectiveness by making sure that the integration aspects of these are covered by the technology we develop. And if you take the ability to have expert resources and experienced resources coming across from various units and hubs in ABB, we will be able to deliver performing capabilities by having the right resource at the right time at right location. And finally, the infrastructure where we build the overall project ecosystem well supported by our ABB IS secured architecture, we would be able to deliver projects in a completely virtual cloud environment. So I would say adaptive execution benefits all the members and stakeholders in a project team, inclusive of customers, EPCs, partners, vendors, being able to collaborate and share information easily and work towards one common goal.
Okay, well, that all sounds really exciting, Sri, and makes me think about measurement of quality, the metrics around adaptive. How do you measure the effectiveness and the goodness of ABB adaptive execution and the quality?
Yep. So this is another, very important aspect when we move from our traditional waterfall model to an agile adaptive execution model. It's very important to make sure that the quality aspect of our deliverables, of our work, is given the equal importance and insight to make sure that it meets the needs and doesn't lose that efficiency which we are trying to build using these enablers, right? So I would say adaptive execution tries to implement certain aspects of the agile principles, meaning we will be able to do certain engineering tasks in parallel, modular, iterative manner. Thereby, we are incrementally building the desired solution, depending on the design maturity. Now, we have also automation engineering tools that will help us to maintain the quality and the integrity of the system, which is key when we execute parts of scope in iterations, right? And the other way we are also now ensuring quality in our deliverables is by means of standardizing possible scope of solutions. Like there have been days when we used to put in a lot of engineering and design effort in building cabinets. And today we know by standard practice and by requirements with the new technology, we would be able to standardize and build a standard cabinet like a build to order with a zero engineering possibility, which will completely eliminate the need for a quality check at every customized delivery, rather than it comes like a factory built with built-in quality functions. So all this will help us to deliver hundreds of standard cabinets in hours with desired quality, rather than spending man days and weeks on design and engineering effort and then additional quality time. Though we strictly follow our ISO IEC standards at every step of our project, we have tried to build quality within our solutions, I would say through productization, standardization, auto validation, and auto documentation. Now that's what Adaptive is trying to build in those built-in quality features.
So, I mean, you're really automating the project execution itself, and the less, sounds like the less human interaction, the better from the traditional way to today.
That's right.
That's great. Are we doing this today? Is this methodology been rolled out in ABB?
Yes, we have certain enablers as part of these 4 focus areas we talked about are being, they've been well developed and been deployed in some of our recent major projects. Though we are currently trying to streamline and make sure that if there are any gaps from the lessons learned on projects, we are able to fix it, enhance, or also add new features to improvise it from a global project delivery standpoint, right? We have officially launched this program within ABB, within IAE and division as a division level initiative, where we are collaborating and working with all the 5 hubs, LBLs, PGs, marketing and sales, to make sure we all understand and able to communicate and deliver the value proposition of adaptive execution. We are also planning for an official market launch or press release soon, which is a kind of a big bang announcement coming, which is what ABB is now looking to transform what I would say the world of capital projects execution methodology through adaptive execution.
Okay, yeah, I'm just curious now. You've talked about infrastructure, you've talked about methodology, and we haven't talked about technology now. And I know that's a broad topic. So, what are 1 or 2 technologies that play a key role in adaptive execution?
Yeah, so there is a focus on many technology enablers that an adaptive program is looking into, but the choice and the need of adaptive enablers typically depends on the scope in a project. But to name a few technology enablers, starting from the Select IO, the Select IO remote cabinet or smart junction boxes, simulator framework, runtime virtualization, smart commissioning, and use of smart engineering tools like auto-generate cause and effects, auto-map serial IO link. Now, all these are enablers, technology enablers that we can choose to apply on projects depending on the scope and the requirements, but their related deployment or implementation guidelines, workflows, functional design specification, and the integration aspects within our control system platform, which is 800XA, is what Adaptive is trying to document and structure so that all projects can kind of use and leverage these technology enablers effectively without to go and look for it and kind of recreate things from the scratch. So it's readily available for our projects today to go in and check out those technology enablers in project, which would help the team to go get start to the delivery side of it from day one, rather than spending time to look and find the enablers to be developed and then being applied, or being designed and then being applied on a project. So it's kind of where we would like to create readily available off the shelf for projects to just grab and use these technology enablers depending on the scope and the requirement of a project.
Yeah, a lot of these topics seem to be automation related. Is the adaptive execution only focused on automation projects?
Okay, yeah, this is a very good question. And I've received similar questions in the last few weeks. Then, in fact, as we all know, I think ABB's strength is not only in process automation, right? We have a big, huge experience and team of people on electrical side of automation. We have telecom. So I think our strength has been like a differentiator and a competitive advantage for us, being that we are able to provide an integrated approach with process automation, electrical, and telecom. So Adaptive is certainly looking into deliver projects of much larger scope of automation, which not only on the process automation, but looking at the electrical and telecom side. But when you specifically take, for example, the automation and the electrical, ABB has executed a lot of projects where we have been both a MEC and a MAC. So there are quite a few enablers like the extreme engineering, the integration aspects with IEC 61850, which is a type of a protocol which helps us to integrate electrical automation systems with process automation. Now, these are kind of fully integrated when you talk about 800XA systems. And we have experience working in those type of integrated controls and electrical automation together. So adaptive execution is certainly looking at as an integrated project execution model. And as I said, depending on the scope, we have a set of enablers covering the methodology, the technology, the infrastructure, and the capability aspects, which would accordingly be orchestrated with respect to the scope. And then, ABB would be able to deliver projects under this umbrella of framework, what we call as adaptive execution.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the execution part of the project, but we do have several phases to a project. We have, you design it, you build and execute, you start up, you commission, you operate. So there's several phases to the life of a plant. Does adaptive execution play a role across all those phases?
I would say yes. Though typically when we define adaptive execution is more from an execute phase of a project. It is also possible for us to get involved early in a project. As you said, right from the design stage, or what we call as a pre-feed or a feed stage phase of a project. And there are a set of enablers that would bring in additional value to the project execute phase if being addressed in the very early stage with the EPCs. So we do talk about adaptive execution having value propositions at the feed, pre-feed phase, during the execute, and then we kind of hand off to the operation phase of a project too, where there are certain elements of adaptive execution which would add as a value add or a benefit for building over solutions during operation phase, right? We will be able to optimize and come up with a fit for purpose, or what I like to call it as a fit for adapt design that will help the project phase in making sure we address all interface and integration aspects early on, right? So this way we could say that adaptive execution, though delivers within execute phase, it has ability to influence and shape the outcome of a project better if we are engaged from feed all the way to the operate phase of a project. Right?
I see.
Yeah. So I think the same explanation, even if you look at from a digital transformation aspect, once a project is commissioned and started up, and when a client is looking for further optimization and sustainability development of an overall life cycle of the facility, you do need quite a few of the digital enablement for doing data analytics and building the decision dashboards, for which you need some basic foundation and fundamentals to be built upon. which is what Adaptive could do during the execute phase of the project. So you're kind of well prepared even for your operation phase, just because of Adaptive Execution has built the entire solution using the right enablers.
Okay, that's good. You mentioned digital a lot there, and it made me think about all the digital technologies and how they play a role in the adaptive execution methodology, and they really do go hand in hand. You can't be adaptive without having good digital tools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so we've learned a lot here today, Sri, and I know we're going to dedicate another podcast to one of the 4 pillars, and that is capabilities. And that's really the people side of it, and the people are the real differentiator here, and the way people use these methodologies, technologies, and infrastructure to deliver a consistent project around the world is the difference maker. And we're going to dedicate a whole podcast to that coming up. But what I've really heard today that I felt really stuck with me was use of the expression built to adapt rather than built to last. And I think that really says a lot that I hadn't picked up before, in terms of, that we're not just building a plant to last 20 years and do the same thing, or 50 years and do the same thing over and over, but we're building things with our clients to adapt to changes in the environment, changes in market requirements, changes in product specifications. And that's the big differentiator for our clients that we can help with and help make a reality with adaptive execution.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. And yeah, this is, as I said, this is a very exciting moment for us in ABB, and we are really excited and looking for possible opportunities to work with our customers, EPCs, to go ahead and show our ability through adaptive execution, and we are ready to deliver. So thank you, Dan, again for having this podcast, and really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, same to you. Take care. Bye.